Forget swiping right or sending love letters sealed with wax. Imagine a world where marriage was more about land, status, and alliances than about love. Welcome to the Middle Ages, where dating as we know it didn't exist, but courtship, forbidden love, and secret affairs shaped the very fabric of medieval society. Today, we'll journey through the castles, villages, and courts of medieval Europe to uncover how men and women found love, or were forced into it. In the Middle Ages, marriage was rarely about affection. It was a social and economic contract. Families arranged unions to secure alliances, gain property, or elevate status. Love? That often came later, if it came at all. Among the nobility, marriages were political. A count's daughter might marry a neighboring lord to secure peace between territories. Dowries and land grants sealed the deal. For peasants, things were simpler, but not always freer. Many lived under feudal law, meaning their lord's permission was required to marry. The church eventually stepped in, declaring marriage a sacred sacrament. But even then, most unions were practical arrangements for survival. Sound design, faint medieval music, distant church bells, and murmurs of a wedding ceremony. Visuals, peasants exchanging vows in front of a priest, noble families signing marriage contracts with wax seals. While most marriages were arranged, love still found a way, especially in the courts of Europe's aristocracy. Here, the idea of courtly love was born. Inspired by troubadour poetry from southern France, courtly love celebrated the emotional, idealized devotion of a knight to his lady, often another man's wife. It wasn't about marriage, it was about admiration, loyalty, and sometimes, forbidden desire. A knight might write poems, perform acts of bravery, or even go to war for the lady he adored. It was love wrapped in chivalry, often more symbolic than physical. Visuals, knights jousting in tournaments, noble women watching from balconies, handwritten love letters with poetic verses. Courtly love gave rise to a new language of affection, one that shaped European romance for centuries. Among commoners, dating looked very different. There were no elaborate feasts or tournaments, just village fairs, church gatherings, and the occasional festival where young men and women could meet. At harvest dances and May Day celebrations, couples exchanged flowers, sang songs, and sometimes made secret promises under the moonlight. But relationships were closely watched. Premarital sex was frowned upon, at least publicly, and punishments for illegitimate children could be harsh. Visuals, village dances, couples holding hands discreetly, a stern priest warning the congregation about sin. Still, love blossomed in the meadows and cottages. For many peasants, finding a partner meant companionship, shared labor, and the chance to build a small but meaningful life together. The church had enormous influence over love and marriage in the Middle Ages. By the 12th century, the church declared marriage one of the 7 sacraments. It insisted that both bride and groom must give consent, but parental pressure and political deals often overrode that rule. Priests urged couples to marry within their own class and faith, discouraging unions driven purely by lust or rebellion. The church also enforced rules about consanguinity. You couldn't marry a close relative, and bans on divorce were absolute. Visuals, monks recording marriage banns, bishops overseeing weddings, couples kneeling before a priest. But beneath the sermons and rituals, love still stirred. Secret marriages, performed without witnesses, were common. Some couples even exchanged vows privately and considered themselves wed before God. Where there were rules, there was rebellion. Medieval literature is full of stories of forbidden love, like Tristan and Isolde, or Lancelot, and Guinevere, where passion defied duty. Among nobles, affairs could be both scandalous and dangerous. A queen caught in adultery might lose her crown, or her life. Among peasants, the consequences were severe too: fines, public shaming, or exile from the village. Visuals: lovers meeting in secret gardens, guards approaching, whispered promises by candlelight. But love, as always, was uncontrollable. Even in an age of rigid customs, hearts found ways to connect in secret letters, coded songs, and fleeting glances across the great halls of power. Medieval lovers used symbols to express their affection, tokens that could speak where words were forbidden. Rings and ribbons were exchanged as secret gifts. Handkerchiefs given by noble ladies were carried into battle as lucky charms. Flowers held meaning: red roses for passion, violets for loyalty, and ivy for eternal faithfulness. Poems, songs, and even illuminated manuscripts became the love letters of the medieval world. Visuals: a knight tying a ribbon to his armor, a woman hiding a note inside a book of prayers, candles flickering on parchment. By the end of the Middle Ages, ideas about love began to change. The Renaissance would soon celebrate passion and individual choice. But in the medieval world, love was still something powerful, something that could cross class boundaries, defy the church, and inspire centuries of art, music, and legend. Visuals: montages of medieval paintings of lovers, stained glass windows, and castles fading into twilight. In the end, medieval dating wasn't about apps, messages, or fleeting romance. It was about survival, devotion, and courage in a world ruled by duty. Because even in the harshest of times, the human heart has always found a way to love.